think the reason why the Western Balkans is extremely important in the sense of investigating international illicit crimes is that the entire region, and especially Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I work from, is it's still in its infancy in developing really strong and especially independent police agencies that truly investigate corruption and that truly investigate organized crime. Unfortunately, we are seeing all across the Western Balkans captured states by extremely corrupt politicians who are extremely well connected to organized crime groups and figures. And unfortunately, as a result of that, local law enforcement has been significantly politicized in that sense. So focusing on investigating the Western Balkans region, finding international connections, revealing illicit money flows, and where taxpayers' money from the Western Balkans is ending up in the pockets of these corrupt politicians very, very often in offshore accounts is extremely vital as a global phenomenon. There are certain positive movements that can be mentioned in the sense, but they are mostly connected to pressures from the international community, from the EU, especially on the, during the process of association, there is a lot of pressure to ensure that there is a rule of law in Bosnia and Herzegovina and all across the Western Balkans. So this is a key priority. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have finally recently, after 6 years of not having a contact, a point person coordinating with Interpol, finally agreed on a contact person and finally started official cooperation with Interpol, which until now has been, and Europol, which is until now has been fragmented. And we have also recently seen a very positive example of cooperation between international law enforcement agencies which have cracked the Sky app and have sent certain amount of evidence to Bosnia and Herzegovina. And as a result of that, we have two open, really strong investigations, which are also as part of these investigations, there are allegations against judges, against people within law enforcement, state prosecutors. So it is quite important that these important cases have been brought forth. So these are results of international cooperation and certain positive moves. However, unfortunately, as I say, these are few and far between, and they are almost always done after heavy influence or heavy pressure by the international community and EU, namely. I think that media in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but all across the Western Balkans, and watchdog organizations such as Transparency International are doing a key job in stepping forward to fill certain gaps that state institutions are just failing to do. Really, it would be almost impossible to list all of the really strong investigative reports and allegations and scandals that have been revealed just in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the last 2 years alone. It would be almost impossible because there is such a huge amount. There are really strong independent NGO media working. There are watchdog organizations, as I mentioned, such as Transparency International, who really are mapping all public procurements. We have databases which reveal which tenders are problematic, in which sense, who is gaining the most funds from this. And all of these reports and the fact that there is reporting and there's light shed on every step of the process. So it's tracking tenders, it's tracking trials, it's tracking investigations, it's daily reporting, it's huge, big, revealing investigative reports, it's analytical reports looking at certain ways in which politics is affecting, blocking of certain laws that would ease prosecution of corruption and organized crime, such as, law on public procurement, the law on the High Judicial and Prosecutorial Council, the law on conflict of interest. So all of these things are being done systematically by either, NGO media or independent media or watchdog organizations. And as a result of that, the public has a very significant amount of information, and we do know what the key priorities are and what the key challenges are. I think certain things can be done. I think, unfortunately, a lot of times within the generally donor community, there's an over focus on, let's do something new and exciting. And in a lot of cases in Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's just really vital that NGOs and media organizations and watchdog organizations just keep doing systematically what they are doing. So if you are tracking tenders and reporting about problematic public procurement, it's really vital that you continue to do that, and you are not forced, because you've just ended a 3-year project, to focus on something new and different, because that will leave a significant gap because nobody else is doing it. The agency on public procurement is not tracking and revealing to the public all of the problematic public procurements and tenders. So that is something that I think needs to be communicated, needs to be addressed. I understand that NGOs are not there to continuously do the same amount of work, but when you have captured states, when you have a situation in which these NGOs and these organizations and these media outlets and these watchdogs are really the ones that are actually doing the job of certain agencies, then you have a situation in which there is a need to just continue to do certain activities in an extremely professional and systematic and public manner. Generally, I think not talking about funding, but what the international community can do also in general is be much more vocal about the key issues, much more vocal in, just addressing and highlighting what these NGOs and media and watchdogs reveal. Just even if it's not very, official, like ambassadors can use their Twitter feeds, their social media accounts to, highlight, we've read this, not going into whether or not everything is factual, but it's a worrying thing, and this is the kind of thing that should be addressed. And because that gives credibility to the reports, it gives greater reach among audiences, but much more, even importantly than that, it also protects journalists, investigative journalists, from backlash by politicians, extremely corrupt and populist ones, who are now often targeting journalists, who are using the corrupt judiciary to file wrongful SLAPP suits against them. So I think that in that sense, more protection and more visibility to these efforts by international actors can be given. I think the reason why the Western Balkans is extremely important in the sense of investigating international illicit crimes is that the entire region, and especially Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I work from, is it's still in its infancy in developing really strong and especially independent police agencies that truly investigate corruption and that truly investigate organized crime. Unfortunately, we are seeing all across the Western Balkans captured states by extremely corrupt politicians who are extremely well connected to organized crime groups and figures. And unfortunately, as a result of that, local law enforcement has been significantly politicized in that sense. So focusing on investigating the Western Balkans region, finding international connections, revealing illicit money flows, and where taxpayers' money from the Western Balkans is ending up in the pockets of these corrupt politicians, very, very often in offshore accounts, is extremely vital as a global phenomenon.